Coming up today, Korea's political parties reach a breakthrough on a multi-billion-dollar supplementary budget after marathon talks to resolve their differences over where to spend the extra funds. They'll seek to approve it on Thursday. Years of weak international trade leaves Korean shipping giant Hanjin teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. The company enters court receivership after its creditors halt funding. Plus, the Brazilian Senate votes overwhelmingly to dismiss President Dilma Rousseff. Senators find her guilty of illegally tampering with the budget 2 years ago to hide a growing deficit. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Thursday, September 1st, here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Mark Broom. We are going to start with the breakthrough on a major cash injection aimed at boosting the economy. Just before the stroke of midnight, around 6 hours ago, Korea's ruling and opposition parties agreed to approve a stalled extra budget plan. The ruling Saenuri Party, the main opposition Minju Party of Korea, and the minor opposition People's Party reached a compromise on how to spend the $9.8 billion supplementary budget. It's slated to be passed at a plenary session on Thursday afternoon. Key items include an extra $180 million for educational facilities. The parties also agreed to make efforts to compensate South Korean firms shut out of the Inter-Korean Kaesong Industrial Complex. Watchers had warned the delayed passage of the supplementary budget would deal a blow to the economy. The presidential office had also been urging the National Assembly to speed up negotiations. Korea's Hanjin Shipping has filed for court receivership. The move came less than 24 hours after the company's creditors decided to pull the plug on its financial life support. Hwang Ho-jun with the details.
A desperate measure for the sinking shipping company, once the world's 7th biggest by capacity. Hanjin Shipping filed for court receivership on Wednesday afternoon, Korea time, after its board of directors convened in the morning and decided to go down that road. All trading in shares of Hanjin Shipping has been halted after its stock price plummeted as much as 29.1%, eventually closing at just 1,240 Korean won, or a little over $1. Court receivership will give the court full control and authority to make decisions for the company. The court will replace the current executive with a new legal administrator and will make a judgment as to whether or not Hanjin has a chance for survival. If Hanjin is deemed fit to survive, the court will start restructuring the company, potentially liquidate some assets, and manage its obligations as necessary to bring the company into a process of recovery. The court will also continue to closely monitor the company's debt repayment. If Hanjin follows through on all steps, then it graduates from receivership. On the other hand, if the court determines that its operations cannot be salvaged through restructuring, liquidation may be in order. Korea's Financial Services Commission led an emergency meeting on the situation about an hour before Hanjin announced its fateful decision. In a statement, FSC officials said they believe the filing's effect on domestic financial markets will be limited. However, to minimize the blow, they also said the government will actively look for ways for Hanjin's rival, Hyundai Merchant Marine Company, to take over ships, business networks, and its workforce.
The trade and foreign ministries, as well as other related agencies, will work closely to support workers, subcontractors, and the transportation of involved goods.
According to its mid-year report on June 30th, Hanjin had total debts of about $5.5 billion, while this week its market value tumbled to about $270 million. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
Turning now to the latest member of the North Korean elite to fall foul of Kim Jong-un's reign of terror. This time, the regime's top education official met a gruesome end by way of firing squad. Seoul's Unification Ministry confirms Kim Yong-jin had been branded anti-party and a counter-revolutionary during the North's Supreme People's Assembly. That took place back in June. Our Connie Kim with the details.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's reign of terror is expanding beyond the military and the party to his cabinet. South Korea has confirmed one of the North's top officials has been executed, and 2 other senior officials have been sent for so-called re-education. An official at Seoul's Unification Ministry said Wednesday, North Korea's Vice Premier for Education Kim Yong-jin was put to death by firing squad sometime last month for anti-party and anti-revolutionary crimes. The 63-year-old had been investigated by the regime's State Security Department after being caught dozing off during the Supreme People's Assembly in June. Many experts have noted that Kim Jong-un is still in the process of reshuffling personnel to cement his leadership.
Kim Jong-un has barely anything to show for himself, particularly in the economy. So he's continuing his reign of terror, especially when it comes to those close to his father, Kim Jong-il, or to his uncle, Jang Song-taek, who was executed in 2013.
It's also been confirmed that Kim Young-chul, head of the North's United Front Department, which handles inter-Korean affairs, was sent for a month of re-education on a rural farm for trying to expand his department's role. He's now back on the job. Kim Young-chul is known as a leading hardliner against the South and is also believed to have masterminded the torpedo attack on the warship Cheonan back in 2010. The Secretary of the North's Propaganda and Agitation Department, Choi Hui, was also sent away for re-education in May as punishment for mishandling of the regime's propaganda activities. North Korea's killing of high-level officials for supposed disloyalty to their leader is widely known, with Kim Jong-un's execution of his uncle Jang Song-taek being a landmark case. As of last year, about 130 officials have reportedly been executed since Kim Jong-un took power in late 2011. And experts say the brutality will continue to ensure his officials' loyalty and to tighten his grip on power. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, a high-level official from South Korea's foreign ministry is in Beijing for talks with his Chinese counterpart ahead of the upcoming G20 summit that's going to be held in Hangzhou. Expectations are growing for summit talks between the 2 countries on the sidelines of that actual event. Oh Jung-hee with the details.
Seoul's first Vice Foreign Minister Im Sungnam has arrived in China for talks with his Chinese counterpart Liu Zhenmin to make final arrangements for the G20 summit in Hangzhou, which begins this Sunday. Although neither Seoul nor Beijing have officially confirmed it, the meeting is likely to be a fine-tuning of the agenda for a Korea-China summit on the sidelines of the G20, which would bring together Presidents Park Geun-hye and Xi Jinping. If the summit talks take place, leaders of the 2 countries will likely touch upon South Korea's deployment of the U.S. THAAD missile defense system, over which Beijing has expressed concern regarding its security interests. President Park is expected to first and foremost seek understanding from her Chinese counterpart on the self-defense reasons for deploying the anti-missile system. At the trilateral talks held in Tokyo on last Wednesday, the foreign ministers of Seoul and Beijing had also promised to continue communicating in regards to THAAD despite their different views.
Seoul's relations with Beijing turned rather cold following its decision to deploy the U.S.-backed missile system, so the president has a primary diplomatic objective of easing tensions with Beijing.
The South Korean leader will also seek to ensure that the 2 maintain their united front in pressuring North Korea to give up its nuclear and missile development. Ahead of President Park's visit to China, it's expected that the South Korean Vice Foreign Minister's visit will serve to iron out Seoul and Beijing's joint message against North Korea's provocations, including its latest launch of a submarine ballistic missile. On Tuesday at the UN Disarmament Conference, China expressed the view that every party concerned should continue to work for the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, though it didn't directly mention the North's SLBM launch or its nuclear tests. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
The disgraced president of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff, has been impeached by the country's Senate. Brazilian senators voted 61 to 20 to remove her from office. Her vice president, Michel Temer, will serve as interim president until an election is held in 2018. Rousseff was dismissed for hiding Brazil's declining economic situation in order to win re-election in 2014. The Senate vote marks the culmination of a controversial impeachment process that has dragged on for months now. Even though the Senate's decision is a major blow for Rousseff, it may not mark the end of her political career. That's because a motion to bar her from holding any public office for the next 8 years failed to pass. U.S. presidential hopeful Donald Trump has held talks with Mexican President Enrique Pena Nieto in Mexico City. At a press conference that wrapped up about 45 minutes ago, the Mexican leader said he had open and constructive talks with Trump. Trump said he discussed illegal immigration, trade and stopping the flow of illegal drugs into the United States. He said they discussed his proposed border wall, but not who would pay for it. The trip was controversial as Trump has made very strong comments about Mexican immigrants in the past. Trump will make a major speech on immigration in Arizona. Following his trip to Mexico, Hillary Clinton mocked Trump's trip, saying it will take more than a photo opportunity to make up for insulting the Mexican people. Now, heavy rain and strong winds from Typhoon Arirang lashed towns in Japan on Wednesday, killing at least 11 people, most of them elderly residents at a nursing home. The indirect effects of the megastorm also affected Korea's eastern Dokdo and Ulleungdo Islands, dumping a record amount of rain on those islands. Kim Hae-sung with the details.
At least 11 people were found dead in northern Japan Wednesday after Typhoon Arirang hit the region with torrential rain, triggering widespread flooding. Japan's Self-Defense Force has been enlisted in search and rescue operations. Japanese broadcaster NHK said police found the bodies of 9 people at an elderly care house in the town of Iwaizumi in Iwate Prefecture, which was inundated by a record 80 millimeters per hour of rain. Authorities found 2 more bodies in Iwate, one of the areas badly affected by the earthquake and tsunami in 2011. In the northern part of Japan's main island, more than 35,000 households lost power. On Hokkaido, the entire town of Minami Hurano was flooded with water, trapping many people in their homes. Across the northern half of Japan, the storm left hundreds of people stranded and caused riverbanks to collapse. Arirang is the 4th typhoon this season to make landfall in Japan and the first to hit the northeast from the Pacific Ocean since records began in 1951. The Japanese Meteorological Agency said the atmosphere is still unstable and warned of potential landslides and more flooding. Arirang also dumped heavy rains on parts of Korea. Southern Ulleungdo in the East Sea got around 500 millimeters of rain over the last 4 days and has seen landslides and flooding. 60 people have been evacuated from the area since yesterday. A strong wind advisory and storm watch are both in place for both Ulleungdo and Dokdo. Kim Hae-sung, Arirang News.
Now we're going to revisit the 2016 Rio Olympics that ended almost 2 weeks ago now. As exciting as it was to watch the rising stars, sports fans also loved witnessing the veterans show them how it's done. Perhaps the greatest example of that is Korea's multiple Olympic champion shooter Jin Jong-oh. Shin Se-min sat down with him.
A shooter who made world history and Korean history. With his trademark red pistol, red cap, and red wristband watch, sharpshooter Jin Jong-oh at 37 years old bagged another gold medal in Rio Olympics, becoming #1 in the world. And that's not all. Jin became the first ever to win 3 straight golds in 50-meter pistol and the first South Korean athlete to win 3 golds in a row. But even to a world-class champ, competitions at the Olympic Games isn't always the same.
알게 된 건데 항상 그 올림픽 끝나고 나면은 어려운 올림픽이라고 말씀을 하셨더라고요. 근데 이번 리우 올림픽도 사실 역전승이기도 했고 어떻게 느껴졌는지 궁금해요.
관심 때문에 그렇게 되는 것 같아요. 그 성적이라 그런 거는 항상 준비해왔기 때문에 상관없는데 이제 관심을 많이 가져주시니까 그만큼 저도 사람이다 보니까 성적을 잘 내야 된다는 욕심도 들어가고 그러다 보니까 더 심리적으로 많이 힘들어지는 것 같아요.
To build on Jin's historic achievements, his hometown of Chuncheon in Gangwon-do Province said it's building a shooting range named after him. The Olympic champion hopes that'll help him prepare for the next chapter of his life.
제 이름을 딴 사격장이 만들어진다니까 저는 정말로 잘 만들어져서 제가 은퇴 후에도 그 사격장이 운영되는데 온 힘을 다하고 싶고 유소년 재능 기부라 그래야 될까? 그런 프로그램도 하고 싶어서 주변에서 만들어주시는 일들이 저를 정말 운동하길 잘했다라는 생각 들게 해주시고 저를 계속 더 앞으로 더 운동해서 나아가라는 원동력이 되는 것 같아요.
But on a larger scale, as the title holder, Jin hopes to put the sport of shooting in the spotlight and help it become a niche event for the country.
저희가 외국 국제대회 나가서 사격 대한민국을 널리 알리면 또 사격이 자연스럽게 양궁처럼 효자 종목이 되고 그러면서 홍보되는 거라고 생각합니다.
Jin continues to aim for 10, whether here in Korea or on the world stage. And now the world champ is shooting for his 5th Olympic Games in 4 years' time, bullet by bullet. 신세민, 아리랑 뉴스.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Thursday morning here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for watching our news bulletins. We'll be back at 10 a.m. Korea time with our next newscast. So until then, goodbye.